Assalamu alaikum. Mr. Moderator, our distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, our friends and our enemies.
And some of y'all might be wondering, what's the Icarus effect? Because maybe you never heard of Icarus. So we're going to just do a really brief summary of who Icarus is. You see, family, you might be wondering who Icarus is. This story comes from ancient Greek. It's ancient Greek mythology, the story of Icarus. Okay. And it's one of the most well articulated and timeless maxims that you can come across. And the story goes something like this. Icarus, in ancient Greek times, was the son of a man named Daedalus. And Daedalus was a master craftsman who built a labyrinth. And the labyrinth that he built was in a place called Crete. So a labyrinth is like an elaborate maze. And he built this labyrinth to hold a monster called a minotaur. A minotaur is essentially a half human, half bull type of monster, right? So when Daedalus helped the hero of this story, his name is Theseus, escape the maze, King Minos turned on him and locking both him, Daedalus, the master craftsman who built this labyrinth, and his son, Icarus, in a tower and prisoners on an island surrounded by a sea. So now they're on this island, okay? Daedalus and his son Icarus. They're on this island. So they're on this island on the sea. So they realize that escape by land is impossible because they're on an island. And escape by sea is impossible because they're on an island. Y'all hearing me? So what did Daedalus do? Daedalus, because he's a genius, okay, in this story, he's a master craftsman. He's thinking, well, we can't go by land, we can't go by sea, but why don't we try escaping by the air? So with his genius and his desperation, he created these wings, okay? He created wings to fly. And these wings were created from feathers and wax. So before they took flight, right, they created this, they took their time, whatever, they made these wings from feathers and wax. This is where we're coming to the meat, right? Daedalus is telling his son Icarus, he's telling his son, look, son, okay, fly the middle path. Fly the middle path. Don't fly too low because the spray from the sea will cause these wings to get heavy and drag them down, and you'll fall into the sea. And don't fly too high because if you get too high, the sun will cause the wax to melt and you will fall into the sea. That was his advice. But once Icarus, he was airborne, he got overcome by the thrill of the flight. And the wind rushed past him and he's feeling the rush of flying. Okay, he's feeling that rush. So what he does, because he's drunk on his freedom now, you know what I mean? He's feeling high from his freedom. He's finally off the island. He's flying. He's getting high and whatnot. You know that feeling, that feeling of exhilaration that you get, right? He just flew higher and higher and higher. While the whole time his father, don't fly too high. Don't fly too high. Fly the middle path. But that feeling, that exhilaration, that high that he got caused him to fly higher and higher and higher till eventually the sun melted the wax on his feathers and caused him to fall into the sea and perish. So what is the importance of this story, and what does this have to do? What is the Icarus effect? The Icarus effect is the moral of this story here is that there's some very profound morals. First of all, Icarus ignored the wisdom of his father. He ignored the wisdom of the one who was elder than him, the one who was more wise than him, the one who has, more experience than him. He ignored that in pursuit of glory, in pursuit of, of that exhilaration. He ignored his elder, the one who was giving him good advice, in pursuit of that feeling of being high and whatnot. And then he ended up paying the price for that pursuit. The other important lesson from this is that ambition can sometimes be fatal. And Brother Liam Brady, he put the perfect word in the chat. It's hubris. Hubris. It was Icarus, the hubris of Icarus, that caused him to ignore the good advice of his father and caused him to fly high. And eventually that was his downfall, his literal and metaphorical downfall. The other lesson in the Icarus effect is that if you do not know your limits and your ambition causes you to exceed your limits, then eventually your ambition will be the same thing that you think that is getting you to that high level will eventually lead to your inevitable downfall. Because your ambition, and ambition is one thing, but when your ambition leads to hubris, because hubris is a type of ambition. Ambition, there's nothing wrong with ambition in general. As a matter of fact, you should be ambitious. But overly ambitious people will do things that are harmful to get the short-term goal. That is called hubris, okay? They will ignore good advice. They will ignore discipline and patience in order to get to a higher level, okay? The other thing that we can learn from this metaphor is like what we say in Islam and what the Prophet ﷺ always said is always be in the middle. Take the middle path. Never go into extremes. If you fly too low, you will sink. And if you fly too high, you will fall. So always be in the middle path. Always be in the middle path. Always have balance. So this is the Icarus effect.
Paper gold. You see, black folks are chumps. If America were to tell you to bring all the rocks in this country to her, and she'll give you $1 million for it, you'll do it. And the next day she'll tell you we're using rocks for currencies, chump.